Suja gas metering station in Kursk Oblast in particular, and ceasefire in Ukraine in general. Let's talk about that. Another topic, Russian-occupied Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant can become American? What's at stake? Let's find out. And in Blitz interview, former US Ambassador to Ukraine, Senior Director of the Atlantic Council Eurasia, Mr. John Herbst, with us tonight. So, good afternoon. My name is Henry Keane, and we are UATV English, an English-speaking Ukrainian state media in constant persuasion to deliver hard truth in easy terms for the whole free world. That means for you, directly from Ukraine. So, Russian Suja, ceasefire, and lies. How does it work altogether? The answer is simple: it just doesn't. That's how. Okay, first things first. There is a gas metering station on fire in Suja. Who could ever think that something could burn during the war, right? What a surprise for Russians. Well, Ukraine accused Russia of deliberately attacking that Suja gas metering station in Kursk Oblast in an attempt to pin the blame on Kiev. And this is exactly what Russia did, pinned the blame, saying it is us, Ukrainians, who did that. Okay, if we did that, why? Russian media early claimed Ukrainian forces had struck this station as it is a key gas transit facility which plays a crucial role in Russian gas exports to Europe. And this was exactly the Ukrainian goal, like says the Kremlin, to make Europe's life harder. Look, says Putin, those Ukrainians are not only waste of your money in weapons, they also burn your gas stations now. Well, impossible to imagine why we in Ukraine ever want to do it with our European partners, really. What is the point? We need their support to fight Russia off. We need their weapons, technology, and money. Yes, so why on earth would ever we do that, burning our relationship with them? Maybe it is what it is, and according to the Ukrainian military, it is a fact that Russia had previously hit this very location with guided aerial bombs, including an attack that happened just 3 days ago.
It is yet another discrediting campaign against Ukraine. The mentioned station was repeatedly shelled by the Russians themselves. The Russians continue to produce numerous fakes and seek to mislead the international community. We ask you to trust only official sources, verify the information, and not succumb to manipulation. The General Staff of Armed Forces of Ukraine.
The General Staff also claimed that Russian forces had used the main gas pipeline near the facility to conceal troop movements. Well, the incident comes as Ukraine, yes, confirmed its retreat from the town of Suja following a rapid Russian advance. À la guerre comme à la guerre. Retreats happen at war. Do not forget, it is Ukrainian army maneuvering on Russian land, by the way. Also, the development followed a call between the US President Donald Trump and Russian dictator Vladimir Putin, during which Putin agreed to halt strikes on Ukraine's energy infrastructure. On March 19th, President Volodymyr Zelensky said he had also agreed to stop strikes on Russian energy infrastructure in a phone call with Trump. Guess what? Yeah, you guessed it right. It just doesn't work that way with Russia. Whatever they say, the actions show clearly they need no ceasefire. Putin needs this war. And so Russia launches a massive drone strike on Odessa, and even a visit to the city with Czech President Petr Pavel was going on March 20th, and it doesn't stop them at all. It was during our meeting that Russia launched 3 groups of Shahid on the city. The entire civilized world should see Russia's crimes against Ukraine. Minister for the Restoration of Ukraine, Alexei Kuleba, said that. 3 people were injured during the attack, and civilian infrastructure was obviously damaged in Odessa. Well, my point and my question to you is, if Russia does that, I mean bombing Ukrainian civilian infrastructure even when a president of a foreign country is in the city, and it does after accepting not doing that. So who do you think set that gas metering station ablaze in Kursk Oblast? Since Donald Trump is in charge, I'm struggling to understand American foreign policy and just trying to keep my expectations low. But then again, how low should I go? The White House on March 19th proposed Ukraine to pass its nuclear facilities to the United States as part of the ongoing ceasefire talks. Wow.
The United States could be very helpful in running those plants with its electricity and utility expertise. American ownership of those plants would be the best protection for that infrastructure. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt.
Well, dear White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, do you or anybody around you ever had any previous experience with Soviet nuclear power stations? I mean, maybe you do. Maybe Donald Trump, as a very stable genius, can also do that. You know, the art of a deal and that. Maybe he did that already in early 90s when collaborating with Moscow and KGB, being in Moscow, he sealed the deal with them and they taught him to operate those nuclear stations. So theirs in return. What I mean, dear Mrs. Leavitt, ma'am, is that giving up on our Ukrainian land and on nuclear stations on this land is what the Trump administration really wants? This is how you guys see our Ukrainian sovereignty from the White House rooftop? Half Russian, half American, right? Half-life? The control of the Russian-occupied Zaporizhia nuclear power plant, ZNPP, the largest one in Europe, has been actively discussed between Kiev and Washington over the past week. Indeed, Zaporizhia plant accounted for 20% the country's electricity supplies and almost half of nuclear power generation before the full-scale war. Now all of its 6 reactors are in cold shutdown. The plant does not generate power and relies on 2 power lines connected to Ukrainian-controlled territories for off-site electricity compared to 10 lines it had before the war. Both have suffered repeated disconnections because of the Russian attacks. Energoatom, Ukraine's state-owned nuclear power plant operator, said that the plant has experienced 8 blackouts and 1 partial shutdown since the beginning of the all-out war. Just a day after the US-Russia talks in Riyadh in late February, Alexei Likhachev, the head of Russia's state-owned nuclear energy company Rosatom, said that Russia is planning to relaunch the plant. Well, I'm sorry to break it to you like that, but the plant was dependent on the Kakhovka reservoir for water used to cool the nuclear reactors. Remember Kakhovka, Mrs. Leavitt? Well, let me remind you what happened to it under Russian control. Love and marriage is a horse and carriage, so maybe there is a reason to transfer Zaporizhia nuclear power plant under American authority after all, but it goes together with Kakhovka Dam then. Dear Trump administration need to understand that. Think about it next time you want to take something nuclear under your authority. Former US Ambassador to Ukraine and Uzbekistan, Senior Director of the Atlantic Council's Eurasia Center, John Herbst, is with us tonight. Thank you so very much for joining, sir.
My pleasure.
First question, sincerely, do you believe Donald Trump has a grudge on Zelensky, a personal one?
I don't think he does. Obviously, I don't think Trump treated Zelensky well in the White House, and Vance treated him even less well, to be polite. But Trump is on record as having said that he thought that Zelensky was very firm during Trump's impeachment, which was a time Zelensky could have been very damaging to Trump. So I don't think that there's a personal animosity.
All right, okay, well, let me just count it for you. Transfer lands under Russian authority, transfer rare earth minerals under American authority, transfer nuclear power stations under American authority again. I mean, this is not me, but what we hear from the Oval Office just recently these days. So my question is, if Canada somehow does not want to become a 51st state, maybe the offer is still standing for Ukraine. Seriously, I mean, obviously Putin wants no peace in Ukraine and Trump doesn't care what Ukraine wants. That is what I see. Am I right on this whole picture, or my vision is blurred somewhat, sir, do you think?
I think Trump wants what Trump wants and his vision of what America requires. My view about American interests is not the same as his. I think we have a critical stake in your defeating Putin in Putin's war of aggression. Trump, for reasons I can't explain, does not seem to understand that. But Trump is on record as saying he wants Ukraine to survive this war as an independent and sovereign state. He has said on record he would not abandon Ukraine. And the peace proposal that he has developed, he and his team have developed, would ensure that if properly implemented. And while I can understand why people are unhappy about some of the things Trump has done, I can't say I'm enthusiastic about some of those things.
Right.
We have not seen him walk away from that proposal. And that proposal would, I think, I wouldn't use the word ensure, although that word is not inappropriate, but I think would make highly likely
Okay.
Ukraine's emergence from this as a secure, sovereign, economically viable state. And of course, the two things Trump has put on the table for this are one, the deployment of European troops to Ukraine, and two, the arming of Ukraine by the West, including the United States. Those two measures to ensure Moscow does not attack again after a peace deal or ceasefire is achieved.
Right. So,
Now, there are many details there that need to be
right,
worked
sure.
out, but and that starts with the fact that Russia has rejected both of them. But we saw Witkoff, the special envoy, say, we don't agree with Russia on the arms issue,
Yeah,
meaning
yeah.
the arms for Ukraine. And that's not decisive, but that's important and positive.
Right. Well, I mean, to arm Ukraine, these patriots, like kill switch. People talk about that. Like kill switch not only exists, but to me it works. I'm not only talking about F-35s, but after Trump kill switched intelligence data to Ukraine, and many Ukrainian soldiers and civilians died because of that. The world has seen the fact that nobody in their sane mind today believes that America is a reliable partner anymore. I mean, powerful, of course. Smart, maybe in 4 years we'll
Look,
see, but reliable, maybe not.
look, I said that I don't agree with all the things Trump has done vis-a-vis Russia's aggression in Ukraine, vis-a-vis our relations with our allies. And so the questions you raise are not illegitimate. They're not made
Right.
up. They're real. And it's not just you raising these questions. There are many people in Canada, in amongst our allies in Europe. And I don't think that's a good thing for the United States or for our security or for global security.
Right.
But President Trump did manage to win the majority of American votes. He's now the president. And obviously, he's going to work by his worldview.
Sure. I mean,
Again, I think that he does want Ukraine to emerge from this war free, independent, sovereign, economically viable, secure.
well, it's great to hear
And
that.
he is
Sorry.
right. Um, ag- Again, given I think the pause on military intelligence and weapons didn't last long, but it was I think a serious mistake. It encouraged the aggressor. It hurt the victim. So I don't offer any justification for it. I can offer an explanation. And again, this comes back to the way Trump works. And this comes back to, I think, the mistake President Zelensky made in the Oval Office when he kept insisting. No, he was right when he was insisting on, meaning that Putin is not trustworthy and Ukraine needs security guarantees. But what Trump was hearing was Zelensky is not going to make a deal because Putin's involved. And that's what led to that unfortunate decision on pausing the aid and the intel. Again, in my judgment, a mistake. So
Yeah, all right, okay.
you work with him. I think you can get the results that will not be wonderful for Ukraine, but will be adequate or okay for Ukraine. You could get a secure peace, but
Right.
obviously what Trump does not have in mind, and I don't say this happily, but it's true, is a just peace, because he's not talking about Ukraine recovering all of its territory. But he's not talking about Putin as a war criminal. And of course, Putin is a war criminal. Ukraine should get all of its territory back. But again, on the upside, Trump has said he'd like to see Ukraine get back as much of its territory as it can, and he wants to help with that. By the way, I recommend for your audience a Republican uh, columnist for the Washington Post, Mark Thiessen, had an excellent op-ed 5 or so days ago talking about Trump's vision of peace for Ukraine. It's worth reading.
Definitely we'll look into that. The last question, Phil. I know your schedule is very tight, so the last question for tonight.
Yes.
If you would have one chance to advise to Donald Trump, and you know that he will follow your advice, what that piece of advice could have been?
Well, first, I would say thank God for that. And I say that seriously. But look, I don't think President Trump understands that Russia has declared the United States to be its number one adversary and acts as if we're its number one adversary. And therefore, for us to talk about a reset with Russia while it's continuing this war in Ukraine is a huge gift to Putin, which will work only to our disadvantage. And I would say, you want to get a quick peace in Ukraine? Up the pressure on the Kremlin, starting with sending more weapons to Ukraine right away. If Putin sees that Trump himself is now sending weapons to Ukraine, Putin's problems go up infinitely, and our problems reduce substantially, and your problems reduce substantially.
Amen to that, sir. Thank you so very much for your expertise and for your time.
Okay.
Right. Thank you.
Okay.
Hope to
I have insight. I'm not
a-
sure I have influence with this team.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Have to go.
Yeah, but I mean, it's
Okay.
it's a pleasure anyway to talk to you about that. Even so, we should do
Thank
it
you.
again anyway. Thank you.
Happily. Bye-bye.
Bye bye. Looks like that's it for tonight. My name is Henry Keane, and we are UATV English, in English-speaking Ukrainian state media, in a constant persuasion to deliver hard truth in easy terms for you, for the whole free world, directly from Ukraine. Please, in return, like, share, and comment. Your voice matters, as it in turn helps Ukrainian voice to be heard globally. So stay safe, and see you in weekly. Goodbye.